What's up, guys? It's Cody Steck. Today we're talking about 5 things that I wish I would have known before jumping into real estate investing. If you don't already know who I am, my name's Cody Steck. I'm a real estate agent and real estate investor out of the Salt Lake City, Utah area. And I'm really excited to be sharing these videos with you here on this channel. If you're interested in real estate, passive income, business, anything financial, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Click the bell if you want to get notified when I release new videos like this. And as always, I'd love to hear from you, so drop a comment in the comment section below. Let's jump right into number 1. This is probably one of the most important things that I wish I would have known before jumping into real estate investing, and that is to buy the biggest, best place possible right up front. Now, I know what you might be thinking. You might be saying to yourself, well, I don't want to overspend. I don't need to spend as much as I can, even if I qualify for that amount. And that's not what I'm talking about here. If you're really truly trying to make investments and make something work for you in the future, I highly recommend house hacking. If you don't know what house hacking is, I actually shot a video about this a couple weeks ago that I'll link to right up here. I would recommend going and looking at that to get an idea of what house hacking is and how you can do that. Jumping back to the point that I wish I would have known is to buy the biggest and best house possible to fit that house hacking criteria. When I bought my very first home, I was not expecting to house hack it. I was simply just looking for a place to live, to get out from living with my parents and get out on my own. However, once I moved into the home, I realized that paying the entire mortgage kind of sucked, honestly. And I just thought, what am I doing? I need help paying this mortgage. And so I got some roommates, and that's what kind of led me on to the whole house hacking movement. Now, the thing that I wish I would have done is I wish I would have bought a bigger home with more bedrooms, or I would have gone with something that had a mother-in-law apartment, or even just gone straight into a duplex. I didn't really know that these were options. I didn't even really know that that's what I was looking for. I was kind of just looking for something that was gonna be a good overall investment in real estate, and that was really my only criteria. Something that worked for me and that would be a safe, solid investment for the future. The reason why I wish I would have bought a bigger home is because it could have had more bedrooms that I could have rented out, and I could have been living for free instead of covering about 25% of my mortgage. If I'd gone for a home that was a duplex or even just had a mother-in-law, I could rent that out as a completely separate unit like I do on some of my other rental properties now, and I would have been cash flowing way more even if I'm living in one of the units myself. If you're just getting started into real estate investing, I highly recommend going with one of these types of homes because it will really give you the freedom and the flexibility to continue making investments as time goes on. The second thing that I wish I would have known before jumping into real estate investing is to advertise your listings that are for rent at least 30 to 60 days in advance of when they're going to be available. There's nothing worse than having to scramble and hurry to try and place a tenant in the property and running out of time and not being able to rent that unit. This is not what you want to do. This is how you end up with bad tenants that are going to trash the place or that can't pay the rent or are not qualified to be there, and it puts you as a landlord in a tight spot. Always make sure that your lease says that the tenant has to give you at least a 30 days notice before they can move out of the property, so that gives you enough time for you to advertise the property, have some showings, and find the right tenant for that place. And number 3 is to advertise at or slightly below the market rent. Now, in the past, I used to try and bump up the rent and see if somebody would come in and negotiate, and that doesn't really happen very often. You just turn people away before you can even get them in the door to look at the property. You can have the best property, but if you've got it listed for more than it's actually going to rent for, you're going to turn away a lot of those good tenants. What I found is that if you list it at the market rent or even slightly below, that's how you're going to attract good tenants that will actually qualify. They have great credit and they can pass the background check. It's way better to get $25 or $50 less per month than to have to skip a month because you're looking for a tenant because you're not getting enough interest in the property. Think about it. If the property sits empty for even just 1 month, you've potentially lost out on $1,000, $1,200, $1,500. Whatever that unit rents for, you've lost out on that. Whereas if you just listed it for $25 less, you come out way more ahead, because $25 over the next 12 months is only going to be $300 that you're losing, rather than if you were to get that higher price. So I would much rather lose the $300 over the next 12 months then have to lose, $1,000, $1,200, $1,500, whatever that number is. I don't want to lose that. So I'd rather advertise it for rent at or below market value so I can get it rented right away, along with number two, which is to get a good tenant in the property right from the start. So I'd rather rent it for a little bit less just to make sure that I've got the right tenant in there right from the beginning and the unit doesn't have to sit empty for an extra month if it doesn't have to. For me personally, I've also found that you attract not the best quality tenants when you advertise your listing for more. There's a lot of tenants out there who can't pass a background check or have been evicted or don't have enough money or their credit is crappy, and they're gonna come and find any listing that they can to try and find somebody that's gonna rent to them. For some reason, when you advertise your listing for more than it's actually going to rent for, it seems to pull these people towards you and you just get a higher volume of these bad quality tenants that you really don't want. Number 4 on the list is to run this as a business. Guys, this is not a hobby. The reason why we do this is because we're here to make money and to build wealth for our families. Now, there are a lot of benefits to being a landlord, and it's my belief that we do actually give back to the community by providing a place for somebody to live. But of course, there has to be an exchange of value. When you run this as a business, you make it clear that there's a lease agreement that you have to abide by, as well as rental laws that you need to follow. If you're really strict on your lease agreement and you make sure that the tenants know that whatever is in the lease agreement is what goes and that's the final word, it's going to be a lot easier to defer questions or what to do to that lease agreement so that you can make sure that you're following the rules that you have in place and so that you're protected. One of the things that I wish I would have followed more closely in the beginning is to issue a 3-day pay or vacate when people are late on rent. One of the things that really bothers me now is that people know rent is coming up every single month. It's nothing new. They know that they're going to have that expense. So not being able to pay it on time, or at least when they get their next paycheck there at the beginning of the month, that they're going to have to pay that rent. It's very important that you issue a 3-day pay or vacate so that you can either get paid or you can start that eviction process. Just putting this on their door is going to give them the motivation to actually pay the rent so that they can avoid eviction. Luckily for me, I live in a state where we can evict somebody in about 3 to 4 weeks as long as we go through the legal process and hire a lawyer to do it. And the nice thing is it's not too expensive. It's not something that I want to do, but if I have to, I'm not afraid to do it at this point because I know that if I don't, I'm going to get taken advantage of. Number 5 on the list is to have patience. When I jumped into real estate investing, after I bought my first property, I kind of thought that I was going to be buying a new property every couple of months because I'd move in, I'd rent it out, get the cash flow, and then move on to the next home. I was very naive when this happened, and I quickly realized that it takes longer than this. Now, I'm not saying that it's not possible to jump in and hurry and buy a whole bunch of properties in succession, but it just doesn't happen for most of us here. I'm a big believer in setting up a plan that's going to work for you, whether that's to buy one property every year, maybe it's 2 properties per year, whatever that plan is for you. Make sure you set that up, stick to it, and then follow that as you go. And as long as you stay on that path, you know that you'll make investments every single year, and eventually you'll reach the number that you have in mind that you need to cash flow each month, or even just your net worth, that you can finally retire and know that you've got a secure income each and every month. So guys, that wraps up the 5 things that I wish I would have known before jumping into real estate investing. Just to give you a quick recap, number 1 is to buy the biggest, best place you can, especially if you're house hacking, because this is going to give you the ability to have steady income to help cover that mortgage on your very first place. Number 2 is to advertise your properties at least 30 days in advance. Number 3 is to advertise at or even slightly below the market rent. Number 4 is to run this like a business. This is not a hobby. This is something that you want to take serious, and you have a bottom line. You have money coming in and you have money going out, and you need to plan for unforeseen expenses as well as make sure that you're getting that rent every single month. Number 5 on the list, have patience. It's really important to set up a plan and actually stick to it as you go along in your investing career. This is something that takes time. It's not something that you can just do in 1 year and all of a sudden have financial independence. This is something that's going to be a 10, 15, 20, even 30-year plan that you're going to be buying properties, flipping them, moving money around, getting that passive income, whatever it is. This is a long-term game here. and you want to make sure that you've got a plan that you can follow. Now, I'm not saying that plan can't change, but it's important to have at least some type of idea of what your next move is going to be. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't already yet, subscribe to the channel, give me a like on the video here, and drop a comment in the comment section below. I'd love to hear from you guys. Click the bell if you want to get notified when I drop new videos like this, and until next time.